doing something like this, should we make one of the shots wider or follow them just in case?
I guess just in case, like it depends on what it is.
Yeah.
Like if it's, yes, I'm walking over here and it's
Because are they just trying to show like how they can be far away? All right, well we use our best judgment, I guess. You tell us when you're watching.
manning the front desk, so if I do see something out,
Let's watch the stream on there. one shot and a wide. Keep this one close.
Did they say whether
They said specifically they like.
yeah, that's
We'll see like a wide shot from here to there for that first one. Then we'll bring it up.
Feeling good? Did you do the job? Alright. I'll keep you mic'd up here in just a second. I just want to check on Lewis to make sure that he is ready. So I'll be right back.
everyone, just letting you know we're going to be starting talks in about 10 minutes. So this is your last call to grab a drink, go to the bathroom. Just a quick note, the talks are live streamed and recorded, so if you don't want to appear in the live stream during the wide shots, then you may prefer to move to the back or to the sides of the room. If you don't care, then stay where you are. And also take this opportunity to silence your cell phones. Thank you.
Oh, you're set up already.
Welcome, everyone. Hello and welcome to our Devshop evening program, August 2015. It's so awesome to see all of your faces here. Hello also to all of you who are joining us online or who will be watching this video afterwards. Really, really happy to welcome you to our Devshop event tonight. So if you're joining us online, you can click the live button right underneath my video. It should be around the play pause button, and that will sync you up with the live stream. We do have about 20 seconds of delay, so if it sounds like we're ignoring your questions, it might just be that like real life is like 20 seconds ahead of you. You can submit questions for our speakers using #Devshop if you're joining us remotely. I have a quick announcement to make before we kick off our program, which is just a few short minutes ago, we released our first release candidate for Meteor 1.2. So if you go to the forums, you'll see more details about that. This is the biggest release since Meteor 1.0, so there's a lot of good stuff in 1.2. So definitely check that out. All right, so I'm very excited to introduce you to our first speaker, Hans Dahlström. In 1998, Hans co-founded Starbreeze Studios, which produced games such as Chronicles of Riddick and The Darkness for the Xbox and PlayStation. Starbreeze went public in 2000. In 2005, Hans co-founded Hansoft, which makes planning and collaboration software for large agile teams. After a decade of rapid organic growth, Hansoft is now an integral tool in almost all major games development projects, and it's also used by large industrial companies like Ericsson. In 2015, Hansoft raised money from Creandum and Hasso Plattner Ventures to build the next big thing in collaboration. Today, Hans is going to tell us about building this app with Meteor while sharing 98% of the code between web and mobile. Please welcome Hans.
Thank you, Alice. So yeah, my name is Hans Dahlström, and I'm here to speak about our new product, Hansoft X. So we are actually based in Sweden. We also have an office here in San Francisco, and we're about 35 employees today. We currently have a product line called Hansoft Enterprise, which is used by companies like EA and Capcom. So we come from a little bit of a different background because this product is written as a client-server kind of C++ thing, and we raise money with the help from Creandum, who is one of the first investors in Spotify, and has the Plattner Ventures to build the next big thing. And that next thing is going to be building an ultra-responsive collaboration app for the enterprise. Like Alice, you mentioned, it shares 98% of the code between web and mobile, but still it's really, really fast on mobile, almost like a native app. So we're going to share some of these experience building that with you guys. So what did we want to build? We want, can I ask the audience, how many of you have used a tool like Trello or Asana or Jira? Okay, everybody. So if you're familiar with these collaboration tools, this is how we view the market. You have tools that are really, really simple to use, like Basecamp, Asana, Trello, all great tools. You have tools like Jira, Rally, version 1, and Hansoft Enterprise, which is a bit more perhaps complex to use and maybe a bit slow. So we want to build something that could handle the complexity, but still was really, really simple to use. So basically, we wanted to build this, which is our new product. And we wanted to build it really, really fast, obviously. We're a growing company. So we are a growing company. We have our investors on board, so we want to see rapid onboarding of users and companies. So thanks to Meteor, we could do this really, really fast and really build a robust, responsive, high-quality product. So without further ado, I'm going to give you a little demo. So this is how the tool looks like when you go sign up. It has boards and what we call ID lists and backlogs. So if I click the plus sign here, I can create a new board that we can track tasks on, and say dev team 1. And I add a couple of tasks that we're going to work on, task 1, task 2, task 3. Add a column called selected to add a status, and I move that first. This looks pretty familiar, I think, to a lot of you. Basically, it's a board where you can track tasks, you can add and remove statuses, you can take these cards, you can drag them around, you can click them, add people and tags and start and due dates and so forth. You can also add backlogs like this. Just click the plus sign, you can add a backlog. And here we can add larger initiatives, like some big feature. Another big feature. And very, very easily, we can click the plus sign here to break it down. So we can have like a sub-feature, another sub-feature, and break it down infinite number of levels like this. Task 1, 2. And the cool thing now is that from the backlog, you can take one of these cards and commit it directly to the team board. So now we can track what we do from the backlog in the team board by looking at the status here. So when I take the card and I drag it from selected to doing, it updates in real time on the backlog. I can also take a card from the team board and back commit to the board, to the backlog, so I can see the status from the team board into the backlog. So what do we want with this? Well, if I add another board here for marketing, like this, marketing, for our marketing team that can track their campaigns and emails and conferences they're going to do, I can give it another color. And now they can add their tasks here. So by this, we really want to merge marketing, demanding developers, IT, operations, executives, merge them into one big tool that they can collaborate side by side. And for example, we can add a company backlog of things we want to do. And we're going to add something, a large initiative at our company called Product X. And now we can take this card and we can commit it to both the marketing board and to the team board. And now we can track when the dev team moves and the marketing team moves, we can track the status from the company backlog. So, to show you a real-world example, this is our own team board at Handsoft. So the whole company now at Handsoft runs the tool, marketing our operations and IT. So this is one of our development teams that works on this product. So you can see here they have added the bugs and features and tasks they're going to work on. For example, this is a bug that they're dragging into our team board. So you can attach files, you can see a tags, critical, it's for iPad, and so forth. And here you can see the release that we've been working on, called the August release, which is in the backlog. We're working on the GitHub integration. So here you can see, for example, a breakdown of the GitHub integration and all the cards we're working on there. And down here you can see another initiative, for example, the performance tester we're working on for testing the performance of the Meteor. Also here is our IT and operations. This is in Swedish, so it's hard to understand for you guys. But it's really, really nice to see marketing and IT and development work side by side, because now we can share our goals and see a very, very transparent way with the company. So we have built this product from bottom up to be 100% mobile. So we think it's really, really important now, the next coming years, that we go fully mobile for these kind of tools. And as you may know, some of the more complex tools of the market doesn't have very good mobile support. So I'm going to reflect back my iPhone like that. And now this wanted to update, of course. So I'm reflecting my iPhone back to the screen now. So we have been really focusing on building our Meteor app for mobile and make it really, really fast, almost with like a native performance. So for example, here's a to-do list. So all cards that are assigned to me gathers up in the to-do list. So I can scroll here. I can take a card, pick it up, and change the order of it. Change view between show all and unfinished tasks. I can go to the news feed. I can scroll there and pitch in more stuff, just like the Facebook news feed. And the whole meat of the application is the part that is called collections, which is very similar to the main view you see in the background. For example, you see the team board there and the August release. So if I go into the August release and pick up a card, you can see it syncs really, really fast between mobile and desktop. And when we show this to the companies using this tool today, they think this is really, really good. And this is thanks to Meteor, because Meteor syncs really fast between, different clients. So I have, like I said, the full application here. So likewise I did on desktop, I can go in. I can go into a backlog item, like this. And all of this is written in just plain HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and with Meteor as a core. So we actually believe that you can build once and deploy everywhere. We think it really, really works. The nice thing now is that we can build for Android and Windows Phone and everything. And when we fix a bug, it will be fixed everywhere. If we do a feature, the feature will be everywhere. So that's pretty nice. So if I go more here, we have like real-time search here. So I can search for a card that we're working on. I can click it, see all the details, like that. And also I can do full like user administration and so forth. So now I have someone who is collaborating with me that happens to be the CEO of Handsoft. So we can both be in the same tool. You see there updates in real time. Let's see, he's going to do something here. So I can add a card as well. Say test. That. Go in. Name it. So Patrick just showed a board there, so I can go in, and executives like to see reports, so I just go into a board and I click reports. And now we can see some data on our board, distribution and cumulative flow. So that's pretty nice. So back to the presentation. So in building this, we had some quite interesting challenges. The first one was keeping a mobile interface ultra responsive. It took a couple of weeks or maybe months to figure out all the quirks with iOS, Safari, and getting it really fast. And one thing that we do is that you see the core navigation screen there with the Due News and so forth, is that we actually keep the templates alive in parallel. So we render them all at once, and then we show and hide them depending on where you click in the interface. This is a pretty basic thing we do. It's one of many things we do to keep the interface fast. We have a blog post out at hansofx.com/blog where we detail all the tricks that we have tried to do, that we did to make it fast. The other thing is that we don't use Cordova, because Cordova can't use the WK web view for iOS. And we need the WK web view as an iOS to get up to 375% more performance from JavaScript. So that's a recommendation if you're doing your own mobile interface. It makes all the difference, really. And this is because of a bug in iOS, so it's not Cordova's fault. The other thing that we've been working really hard on is scaling the backend. And actually, yesterday, the engineers in Sweden, completed a thing with Meteor that makes it scale in its core much more better horizontally. Because there's a problem with Meteor currently that when the server load increases quadratically, we have like an omega n squared problem with the number of users performing operation at the same time. So basically, it's related to the number of writes the user do and the number of servers. So yeah, when we did performance testing, our server died at like 100 plus concurrent users doing things in our performance tester, but now we can handle more than 1,000. So we solved this by splitting users into channels. In our case, the channels are the organizations that they work on, our customers. So for those of you who are familiar with how Meteor works in the back end, you have subscriptions. So instead of going through all the subscriptions on the server when, for example, the uplog changes, only the subscriptions that are related to the actual channel will get updated. So we are in talks with Meteor core here, how to give this back to the community and share our learnings. So we'll see when and how this is get done. But we think this is really, really important because everybody here wants to have really good scalability of the app. So our app is deployed and live on the App Store. Please try it out. It would be awesome to get your feedback. We haven't launched yet. We actually launch next month, but we already have about 500 companies signed up to use it. It's free to use, unlimited time, unlimited users. We have detailed all the things we do with the UI on the blog, hansotex.com/blog. And yeah, that's it for me. If you have any questions.
Thanks. All right, questions for Hans. I think you had your hand up first.
I have a question. What are you using for a UI framework?
So the question was, what do you use for a UI framework? We just use jQuery UI. We leverage that as much as possible, but nothing else. We roll our own, we don't use Bootstrap or anything. We roll our own as much as possible.
Same question.
Same question, okay.
Yeah, any more questions for Hans? Over here.
Yes.
You mentioned that instead of Cordova, you used WK WebView. Is there anything else that you didn't use that was part of Meteor that you chose not to?
Not really.
So just jQuery UI and Cordova for going to iOS with only two things.
Yeah.
Otherwise, just the full stack.
Yeah.
Is the initial download on the phone reasonable?
I think so, yeah.
The initial. I can see that it's very performant once you're using it.
Yeah, I mean it compresses the JavaScript down to 150K nowadays. I mean, I use it here in San Francisco on the 3G network. I didn't see any problem with that.
Could you repeat the original question?
Sorry. The question was if the initial load on the phone was reasonable. And like I said, we use it here in San Francisco on the 3G network, and we think it's reasonable.
What tools did you use to diagnose performance issues?
So the question was, what tools do we use to diagnose performance problems? On the server side, our engineers has hacked some thing with a node to use Node Inspector somehow. So that doesn't work plain vanilla. And it also been quite cumbersome to track performance. Do you mean on the server or client side?
I mean,
Both. Client side, we use Chrome mostly to track, timing things and stuff like that.
Over here.
Yeah, so I have a question about the thing you mentioned with the uplog and the different channels.
Yeah.
Are you saying you implemented something so that you don't have to read the entire uplog for the updates?
It's rather, so the question was, say the question again, sorry.
Okay, so you mentioned these different channels for the users to scale horizontally, right?
Yeah.
So the thing I'm wondering is, did you implement something so that you don't have to go through the entire oplog?
So the question is, if we implemented something that makes it don't have to go through the entire oplog, it's rather that we have written a system that sits in between the oplog and Meteor. So right now, as soon as something happens in oplog, it hits Meteor immediately. But our system makes so that the subscriptions that are relevant to that channel gets hit instead. So I don't know if it answers your question, but.
Yeah.
You said Cordova was not ready. Can you explain that a little bit, what you did?
Yeah, so Cordova was not ready because of the performance aspect. The UI web view uses, the old UI web view uses non-accelerated JavaScript. It doesn't compile it, it just reads it. So it's up to 3 to 4 times slower. So obviously Meteor is very JavaScript heavy, rendering in the templates and everything. So if we would have had that in this presentation, switching views and picking up cards and stuff like that would have been much slower. So
What you did was just creating all the views. What was your solution for that?
no, we just use WK Web View in iOS. That was available from iOS 8 and onwards. More questions?
Are you using Mongo as a data storage, and did you have to do anything to help with scaling?
Sorry, can you speak louder?
Are you using MongoDB as a data storage, or SQL, or like what are you using, and did you have to like do anything performance-wise to help with the horizontal scaling?
So the question was if we use Mongo server side, we use Mongo 3.0 Wire Tiger, which I think now comes out of the box right with Meteor when you install it. But we needed to use Wire Tiger because it has concurrent read and write. So we think that was good. But we also now, with this horizontal scalar solution, we have Redis to coordinate between different Meteor instances. So we use Redis pub subsystem. So, sorry, yeah?
Last question.
Yeah, my question is, do you guys plan to support offline mode for your mobile app?
We'll see. We're investigating that.
You repeat the question?
Sorry. Do we want offline mode for our app? And the question is, we definitely want that, and we are investigating. We haven't found a solution yet.
All right. Thank you so much, Hans.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Our next speaker is Louis DiCioli. He's the lead software engineer at Grove Labs, a hardware startup that sells a web-connected in-home farming appliance about the size of a bookshelf, which makes it easy for anyone to grow fresh fruits and vegetables indoor all year round. The Grove appliance is self-managing, and its operating system is built with Meteor. Louis will be speaking to us about making things that are connected to the internet. Please welcome Louis.
Give me one sec real quick. Let's get that over here. Let's get that out of the way. Let's get going. Hi, everyone. So like Al said, my name is Louis DiCioli. I am the lead software at Grove Labs. And the title of my talk changed a little. Microchips and monocots. I'm going to tell you the story of making the Grove ecosystem so far. So I flew out here from Boston. I thought I was going to win for distance. I didn't know they'd be flying them in from Sweden. But you may have heard we had a bit of a bad winter, had a little bit of snow. So it's funny that we made this system you could grow all year round and possibly the worst winter I'll ever see. But it makes it pretty fitting that now we can grow right through it. So this is me back when I still had my snow shield on my face. It's where you can find me on the internet. I graduated from MIT last year, 6'2", if you know what that means, computer engineering. I transferred there from the Air Force Academy after 2 years. I think that was a good interplay. One taught me attention to detail, and one taught me how to learn. My first web app, first line of JavaScript were both in fall of 2013. And I say that because I am still an amateur. I've been at this for barely over a year now with the company. I'm still learning every day about how things are done. So just because I went to a fancy school doesn't mean you should listen to me any more than anyone else on the web. So grove. What is grove? Let's say, what is a grove? A grove is a living ecosystem in your home. What does that mean? That means this. So right now in Boston, there are 50 different people who have these in their homes. What you're looking at is a in-home aquaponics system. This is a 2-tower grove. So those are actually separate units. You plug them in together at the bottom so they can share water. You'll see that there's a fish tank in the bottom right. It uses aquaponics, and I'll explain what that means. There's an LED light in each plot, as we call them, the growing sections. This is a bunch of shallow plots, meaning it's meant for leafing greens or herbs. We also have another tower that can do fruiting plants, sorry. So when you open up the doors of the grove, this is what you see. So the one on the left is the fruiting system, like I mentioned. You'll see that there's plastic bins in each of them. Those are where the plants sit, suspended. There's not media in the sense that you think of soil. They don't sit in anything and grow. We do have some pebbles. It's called hydroton in the deep one. You can kind of see that, and we'll get a better shot later. But we're so excited to finally put this in people's homes. It uses a thing called ecoponics. So how many people have heard of hydroponics or grown at home, anything like that? Yeah? So ecoponics is kind of this, not opposite, but very different school of thought than hydroponics. Hydroponics is very sterile. You control exactly what's given to the system. You want to make sure that nothing bad is coming in. That's because it's inherently unstable. When you're trying to grow it like a science experiment, it doesn't have any way to stabilize itself like you do in nature. In ecoponics, which aquaponics is one part of, you're trying to cultivate an ecosystem within your system. That means that it's open air, it's not behind glass. You have natural sources of nitrogen that are going into the system, and it's kind of just a lot more fun. It's also easier to manage. It's a lot less things you have to do day to day. After your system kind of locks in, the only thing you have to do is feed your fish. So like I said, aquaponics is a version of ecoponics. They are the source of nitrogen. So they poop, and in their poop is ammonia. And then there are bacteria in the system that break that ammonia down into nitrite. There's other bacteria in it that break it down into nitrate. And then the nitrate is the fertilizer for the plants. So here you're looking at another shallow grow bed. This one, instead of sitting in the pots like you see in the back, this is just an open media bed with the hydroton. This is microgreens of arugula, going really well. This is in one of our team members' groves. And the bacteria really love the hydroton, those pebbles you see. It's expanded clay because there's thousands of tiny little pores in there that they can grow inside. You're not limited to growing anything specific. It's just like in nature. It depends how you cultivate your ecosystem. So you can do your herbs, greens, lettuces, arugula, chard, and you can also do your fruiting crops. So tomatoes, peppers, even tomatoes. So this is one of our customers who's grown the best tomatoes I've seen by far. At this point, you're probably asking yourself, okay, where is software in all this? Well, all the groves have a brain. There's a motherboard that sits at the top of each of them. It's driving our lights. It's driving our pumps. There's a few sensors in each of them. Our current ones have air temperature, humidity. Future ones will also have water level, water temperature. We can even tell if your door is open or closed. It's funny how much you can tie what's happening to if the customer is successful. And at this point, I'm going to give you a demo. So this is kind of a funny way to give a demo, but for a connected device, you want to see the device. So this is the ecosystem that is in the front office back in Boston. And this is GroveOS, the app. So right now, all this is off, and we see that's because these each had a sunset of about 9:30 or 10, and there it's about 10:30. So if I click into one of these, I can see that it had a 15-hour sunset. If I jack that guy up all the way to, well, he doesn't want to be touched. If I pause the Grove and actually just set it to movie mode, then they all come on. If I change it to photo mode, they all switch. And if I just want to turn them off, they'll all go off. I can resume the schedule, and now they're back on their normal one. You guys obviously can't hear this, but if I click this, the pumps are indeed turning on and off. Other things you can do, you can add readings to your Grove. So here, the most important things in there are your water readings, your pH, your ammonia, your nitrite, your nitrate. So here, you can click in, you can see a list of them. It's telling me this is way too high. Maybe I can also add another one, and it'll tell me it's too high. I'll hit submit, and it tells me, yep, your fish are probably dead. You can click open the support post. This is fun trying to embed an iframe within a web app. We haven't done Cordova yet, so this is all browser-based. And we also use Discourse, which is fun to be a part of with everyone else out there using Discourse, so we can see exactly how to lower ammonia. You can see other people's groves. I can come in here and go look at Ron's grove. Not a lot going on right now. I can tell what temperature it is in his house. I can see that he's not really taking his readings, but he's actually doing pretty well because Ron's had his grove for a few months, and you want those to sit close to 0 after it's locked in. And that's about it. You can also, we have sandbox mode right now. So our first iteration of the light tool, usually in indoor growing, lights are purple. And that's because plants don't use green light. That's why they're green. It's the light they're reflecting. But this sits in your home, and purple's a pretty weird thing to just have this massive purple glowing box in your home. So we designed them to be white. We made our own LEDs, and they have a little bit of warm, a little bit of blue, and mostly neutral. So you can actually, if you go in here, you can change what that looks like for each part of the day. So right now, like I said, it's off, but if I change this to actually be later, like 11:45, now if I move, so it's in this phase now. If I move these, no, it really doesn't want my touch. Well, you can actually go in and change the color spectrum for each part of the day so you can try and mimic which part of the other. We figured out that most people really just want to set it and they don't know what color they want, and that's why the other one is simpler. So yeah, that's Grove OS. The rest of this presentation is going to be the story of how we made this in less than a year with only 4 engineers. So Grove Labs, we're about 17 people now. The software team had 4 of us. We've recently grown to 5 and had some great summer interns. And being a hardware startup is pretty sexy. There's a lot of fun physical things that go on. It's not just like being in a software startup. So we have a kick-ass YouTube channel with a video of how we mold our plastic. We did that at home. We did it ourselves. How we make our cabinets. We found this awesome Boston furniture maker who makes beautiful bamboo cabinets. How we make our lights. We made them in Connecticut, right there in the USA. How we manufacture. But you know, there's not a video of us coding. I asked them to make it, but they wouldn't put it up there because it's not that exciting. I understand. But this is to talk about software. We finally get to have our spot in the light. So here's our stack. We use Meteor, of course, or else I wouldn't be here. We use Particle. If you haven't heard of Particle, they're a San Francisco-based company. They make Wi-Fi connected microcontrollers. We use Mongo, and not only because it's all Meteor works with, but because it's actually a really good use case for us. And we also use React on the front end. So I'll talk about how halfway through this, we ripped out Blaze and rewrote in React. This is a highly detailed architecture diagram of how the system works. So you'll see on the left, that belongs to Particle. There's the Grove itself, which is the microcontroller in the top. And that communicates with Particle servers. When we publish out data, that comes to our receiver server, which writes those to the database after a little bit of parsing. We have our application server, which sends the application JavaScript bundle and communicates back and forth with the client. And that's written in React. That sends the messages to Particle servers, which go down to the device and come all the way back to us. So when I was showing you the drop cam before, we're here in San Francisco watching the system out there, and I click that here, which came back to here. We tried to work this out in the office. There are too many errors involved. So I'll take you back to August 2014, kind of when we got started. It was me and one of the other engineers, Michael. I remember sitting in the office trying to write an HTTP client for an Arduino. If this looks familiar to you, I'm sorry. It became painfully aware as I was writing this that HTTP packets really are just text. So if you look after that first comment, send the header. That is literally print lining HTTP /1.1. And then the next line, you print your host. And then you print your application type. And then you print your content length. And then you print the actual content. And I'm sitting there asking myself, like, there's no way this can be right. Then I have to read it. I'm like, OK, while client.connected, serial.write, delay. I'm putting a delay in. Like, this was so wrong. Sitting there wondering, like, there must be a better way. We tried everything. We had Electric GIMP. We made put it on a Raspberry Pi. I just tried the Arduino. Intel Edison was coming out. It's like a $50 computer. Texas Instruments. We're like, how hard would it be to just get our own microcontroller and write our own embedded system? Real-time Linux isn't that hard, right? Wrong. And then someone recommended Particle. So Particle is really nice because it has great abstractions. It uses the Arduino language, which means all of our skill set was still valid. We knew how to do this. But then there was a couple key functions that we got to use. So instead of having my own HTTP client, I just said spark.publish. And I say the name of it. It's a reading. Let's say that's the data, 70.4. You give it your time to live and private. You can actually publicly publish from Spark. It's kind of like the Twitter of the Internet of Things. And then on the server, I just say spark.getEventStream, and that's what I get. I get this nice, simple JSON object with exactly what I expect. It has the name, it has the data. And calling functions, same thing. So top line, we're on the device. I say spark.function update lamp, and I hand it the function that it should call when it gets a message to do that. On the server, I get the device. So that's usually a long string, not just the chip ID. Then with the device, I call the function update lamp, and that's the string that it expects. So for us, I showed you all those points. That's just one like 60-character string that it expects. Then I get the result back. I just console log it, or I get an error. And just like that, I have an internet-connected device. I went from Arduino, and now I have this. And there's a lot that goes on in the background that I never had to think about. The fact that you don't really want to send HTTP from an embedded device. It uses COAP, which stands for Constrained Application Protocol. It's a much lighter weight way of communicating between devices. How to deal with online, offline. How would I send an offline message if it just went offline? It handles showing if the device is online or not. Updating firmware over the air. That comes free out of the box. A lot of things that make it really easy to write a professional connected device are just handed to you in this little $30 chip. Or if you're using the Photon, now that's $20. MongoDB we really like for rich data structures. There's the nice part of it's scalable. I went to Mongo World last summer. Scale the universe is their Mongo. But for us, it was trying to think of like, OK, there's a lot going on in a grove. A grove is any collection of those towers. So a grove has towers, and then a tower has plots, and one of those plots is a fish tank, and the tower also has pumps, and OK, the lights belong to the plots, so we have to put those in the plots. So we end up with this. This is our actual, mostly, of the grove document. So we look up here. The grove has a name. Make this full screen. And then it has an ID. The grove has some variables. We were looking at it has ammonia, it has pH, nitrite, nitrate, air temperature, has some photos that we store if you're adding photos of it. Then we get into the interesting part, towers. OK, the tower's online. There's some plots. We have to number them. Type, shallow. Each plot has a light schedule. So here, that's actually hiding like 3 more points in the schedule, and then each plot has all that. Then the tower also has a water capacity. It has a pump. The pump has a cycle. It's not just on or off. Serial number. The tower is numbered. The chip ID. We store some alarms about each tower. And then we can say whether the grove is cycling or not, which means if the chemistry of the system is really locked in yet. And what I want to show here, I don't have the code to show the class, but when we get this object from Mongo as a normal JSON object, we put it through our own constructor, and we make the grove, tower, and plot objects. And on those objects, we can actually call the things we need to do. So that's how I say tower.setOffline, tower.setLightSchedule, grove.setName. And you have this nice like object document mapper that we can make ourselves. And with Mongo, it gives you this really easy way of like, here's all the data you need. Here's what you expect. Because in Mongo, you design for the data you want. And all that's right there. So jumping forward to February 2015, this was a key moment because we got 2 more engineers. We got our embedded systems guy, who absolutely kills it. And we got another web developer from Seattle, Charles. Charles had the benefit of living in Seattle, where the tech scene, definitely the software scene, is bigger than Boston. And he went to some Facebook meetups and had heard about this thing called React, and had built some things with it. So at that point, most of our application, all of our application was written with Blaze. And there was this huge thing that I had a problem with, which was session. Anytime you wanted to say like the current grove, the current thing, you put it on session. You would say the current user, you put it on session. All this spot, it's like this one big global state, and it just felt wrong. The big thing for me with React is that well, these are the big things. UI is a function. It has inputs, it has an output, the markup. It's a one-way data flow. Instead of trying to think, well, I mean, Meteor has a one-way data flow, so you guys understand that. But instead of like Angular, you're trying to manipulate the DOM yourself. It has reusable components. You can declare the interfaces that they have. So if something needs text or it has a bunch of functions that may happen as a result of that, you put it right up front in prop types. You declare what your properties are. State and props are a thing. So rather than session, which is like the state for everything in Blaze, you have the state of each component. Everything has set state. So it makes sense right there. Like your UI has a lot of state to it. The hardest thing about UI is reasoning about the state. And that's built right into React. Basically, you know exactly what to expect. When you look at a function, you know exactly how it works. You don't have to wonder what the data context is. If I touch this, will it break something else? It's very straightforward when you look at it, how it works. So I tried to come up with an example. Unfortunately, our components are pretty big, but up top you see what this was about. There's a prop type. It expects a Grove. So when I hand this Grove dashboard a Grove, it can just grab the things it needs off of it. It could grab Grove.readings, but more importantly, it can call things on it. So it could say Grove.setLightSchedule. It could say Grove.turnPumps off. So this magical Grove object is both your source of data and your class of how you actually call these functions. And it made it really easy to pass all these rich objects around when you just say, it's a prop, here you go. So the theme among all these is that open source was huge for us. Every single one of us is an amateur engineer. We're a junior engineer. This is our first job. 2 of us had never built a web app before, certainly never a web system. We never could have built this system, gotten it into customers' hands, working well, in less than 6 months, less than a year, but really less than 6 months when we actually had picked our stack and started building straightforward. Each of these has its own community. Each of these has great contributors. It's been like so nice meeting all of you. So the 4 of us could have never done this. I lied. We had 3 interns this summer who helped a lot, but all this is about standing on the shoulders of giants. This is a theme in software engineering. That's the industry we're in. You solve a problem, I get to use your solution. I make a solution, you get to use my solution. We stand on top of transistors, microchips, Linux, everything of the past 40 years, and you think about, of course I would release it. Like, I thought of a little bit of this stack, I'm going to give it back to you. So I also can't wait to release some of ours open source. So thank you to all of you. Thank you for having me, but really thank you for being a part of this community. It's been sweet meeting a few of you who make the packages we use, from simple schema to all of Velocity. It's like building on top of an escalator that you sit down, heads down for a while, and you look up and you're like, whoa, Meteor 1.2, like there's ECMAScript. So it's really nice to be able to actually see the community. And if you're ever out in Boston, we have a pretty good meetup there too. So as we say at Grove, keep on killing it. Thank you very much.
All right, questions for Lewis. Rahul over here.
What does your Wi-Fi setup experience look like with Particle?
So the question was, what does our Wi-Fi setup experience look like with Particle? So we're nice. We only had 50 customers. We programmed every single one of them on the manufacturing line. We had to have them send their Wi-Fi credentials to us. At least 5 or 7 of them had typos. One of them was like, we had it inside the spreadsheet as a number, so it chopped off a leading 0. And luckily, the Photon actually does have a way to set up Wi-Fi, but the SparkCore certainly was not a way to scale a product.
Any more questions?
Can you order this now?
You can pre-order this now. So we're iterating on the hardware design. We're launching later this fall. Look for a crowdfund in about 6 weeks. And we hope some of you will back us.
You have a question?
Are you looking to expand to other applications like dry smoking meat or making beer, or things that are very different from growing vegetables?
We hadn't thought of branching out past growing edible things.
Repeat the question.
He asked if, as a company, we're looking at expanding past just growing vegetables into things like smoking meat or making beer, there actually is a really nice product, I can't remember right now, that is like connected device for homebrew. So that does exist. But as a company, our mission is distributed agriculture. The way the world grows and distributes its food is wrong. So we're trying to be the company that not only enables you to grow that, but connects you to local, healthy, fresh, sustainable food.
All right, any more questions?
Currently, is every component modular in the sense that if you wanted to have like 12 of those, you'd be able to use the same app? Or would you have to reconfigure the app?
You can use the same app.
Okay.
Right now, with this design, you couldn't hook up more than 4 before the water cycle just doesn't work well enough.
Okay.
But it's all within the same app.
Could you repeat the question?
Sorry, he asked how many of them can you hook up, and do you have to change the app interface at all? So when you set it up, it asks for your serial number, so it's all over the internet. None of it is direct to the device.
All right, any more questions? Okay, thank you so much, Louis.
Thank you.
Okay, next up we have lightning talks starting in a few minutes. You can see the lineup at lightning-talks.meteor.com. Before we do that, we're going to take a short 5-minute break. So if you're speaking, please come up here. We have seats over here with your name on it, so you can come find us, get mic'd up. Everyone else, go ahead and stretch your legs, go to the bathroom. We'll see you back in 5 minutes. you're good to go. No. This is how I always do it. All right, we're starting lightning talks now. If everyone could please find a seat and wrap up your conversations. All right? All right, everyone, welcome back. Again, if you're joining us online, you can tweet questions for the speakers using hashtag Devshop and click live to sync up with the live stream. Our first lightning talk speaker is Caroline Caselli. She's the founder at Haven Connect.
Hi, my name is Caroline Caselli, and I'm the founder of Haven Connect. And so right now what I'm trying to do is hack the housing crisis by providing providing TurboTax for affordable housing. And so I'm going to give you a quick overview about why affordable housing applications need to be hacked, because most folks in tech, weirdly, don't know that much about affordable housing. So I was a social worker for 4 years prior to this, and basically what happens is that when clients are applying to affordable housing, you can't just fill a vacancy. You're actually applying to affordable housing, and they're creating a wait list from all the applications that they receive. And so what generally happens is they'll get about 5,000 applications in 2 weeks, which is kind of intense in terms of data entry, because the property managers are actually going in and manually entering the data into an Excel document that they then lotterize and then put into their property management system. So once they've done that, then you wait between 2 and 10 years to get to the top of that wait list, so you can then move into housing. And so, and every year what they do is they'll mail you a letter, and they'll mail you a letter to see if you're still interested in that wait list. And so when that happens, the most vulnerable clients are affected, because if you are homeless and you move regularly and you applied to affordable housing, the likelihood of you getting that piece of mail every year is low. And so unfortunately, those most vulnerable clients are the ones that are getting pulled off the wait list the most, and they're the ones who need housing the most. The oldest waitlist applications tend to be the most valuable, because the longer you've been on the wait list, the higher likelihood that you're further up on the list. And so this is not a trauma-informed system, right? So if you're a client and you have post-traumatic stress disorder and one of your symptoms is memory loss, that means, and you may not remember necessarily, that you need to go in and update your address with each particular property that you've applied to, because of whatever memory issues you may have. And so similarly, there's no way for social workers to use the same set of client data and map that on to all the different applications that you're submitting. And for clients, there's no way to go online and then update your address across the entire system. And what I learned was I started interviewing property managers and social workers for the past few years, and I found out that mainly this is an issue because of funding, right? So every property has a mix of funding issues, and that funding might be for a HOPWA unit, which means that those are for clients with HIV or AIDS, or you're for a 40% adjusted median income person with that income. And so you have all these different requirements and layers for each unit. And so it's not actually possible to create a common application that will work across all different affordable housing, because basically every property has a different funding mix, which makes each application distinct. So basically, it's a mess. And so what Haven Connect is trying to do is to allow the property to create their own customized application based on we've created this data schema of all the different applications and all the different questions that come up most commonly. So that way you can sort of plug and play, where you can pick all your questions and then create the application that's customized to your funding source. And that's really different than a common application, right? Because you're still retaining the that each application is distinct. And I also strongly believe that it's important to retain the paper application, because for those clients that aren't digitally savvy or who may not have a social worker to help them apply, they still need a paper application. And so what we're doing is we're using optical character recognition to digitize those paper applications and integrate them with the online applications. And so this is our online application. And I tried to make it as customizable, but also as culturally sensitive as possible. So one thing that we did, because most applications are laden with assumptions, right? Where they ask male or female, they don't ask if someone is trans. And if they are trans, what pronouns do they prefer? We assume, current address is one thing, but then sometimes people need mailing addresses because they're actually staying with family or friends or in a transitional housing situation, and they need a mailing address that will then go to their P.O. box. Similarly, with income information, you're going to have things like employment income isn't necessarily something that's relevant to everyone, and so allowing folks to pick, oh no, I have another income, and ignoring the employment income direct, if they don't have a job, so that way they can customize the application to their specification. So yeah, that's what we're doing at Haven Connect. Do I have any questions?
Questions for Caroline? All right, thank you very much, Caroline.
Thanks.
All right, next up we have Paul Dowman. He's the developer and founder at OK Grow, and he's presenting about easy image uploads for your Meteor app.
Okay, hi. I'm Paul Dowman from OK Grow, and we've been building Meteor apps for clients for over a year and a half now. Almost every app that we've built has involved allowing users to upload files, upload images specifically. Things like user profile photos. Luckily, there's a really amazing and robust and super powerful framework to do this called Collection FS. This is made by two guys that you've probably heard of, Rakes and Al Deed are their GitHub accounts. Who's heard of these guys? I think they deserve a round of applause. Yeah, these guys are amazing. They've built so much great stuff, and Collection FS is one of these things. So it extends Mongo collections to handle files, and it lets you store the file data in one of 4 backends. So in MongoDB itself, using GridFS, using the file system, which you probably don't want to do, but it's there, S3 or Dropbox. We use S3. So some of the things that you'll probably come across when you do this in your own app will be that you're going to want to transform the uploaded image. So you're going to want to crop and scale it, and you're probably going to want to store multiple sizes so that you don't have to serve a giant image for the thumbnails, for example. And you're probably going to want to keep the original as well, so that later on down the road, when you change the design of the app, you can regenerate all the other different sizes that you might use using different aspect ratios or different sizes. You're going to want to serve them from a CDN or at least S3, and I'm not a big fan of uploading direct to S3. But anyway, Collection FS is super powerful and very general. And so we've been using it ourselves, but we've done a bit of work on top of it just to configure it and make it work in our own apps. So we've been working on this as a package that we use ourselves. And it's kind of more simple and opinionated, and the goal is to add image uploads to any app with a very small amount of code, basically just configuration. So First of all, it's a work in progress, so please don't flag it on Atmosphere. If you want to use it and it's not working for you, I will help you personally, so let us know. Post on GitHub, contact me, whatever. So what does it do? So it lets you attach images to documents in any collection. It will generate default publications and allow deny rules, which you can always customize. It'll let you, if you want to, serve your images directly from S3, and it supports S3 only right now as a backend. That's what we use. This is what it looks like. So this is how you define a profile image for your users. So this will create a collection called user images that is associated with the Meteor users. It will give it the default permissions. It will store 4 different sizes: the original, one called thumbnail at 200 by 200, and those other 2 sizes that you see there. It will give you a couple of helpers. So this one is still fairly bare bones. We're going to make that a lot nicer. But this will give you an upload button that gives you some progress and displays the thumbnail size when it's done, associated with the current user. There's a lot of work to be done: bug fixes, documentation, make it suitable for public consumption, basically. We want to support autoform, a better upload widget that'll let you crop and zoom maybe right in the browser, simplify the API, etc. So if you want to help, I would love some help if you want to use it. We're probably going to offer some small bounties, and some of those will be for actually maintaining collection FS, like fixing any critical issues in collection FS itself or whatever. It is actively worked on. It's very stable, but we use it a lot, and we'd love to support that community as well. Thanks.
Do we have any questions for Paul?
All right.
Questions? In the back.
Right.
Where can you do the image processing properly, on the client side or the server side?
So the question was, where do we do the image processing, client side or server side? It's on the server side, and it uses ImageMagick or Graphics Magic, so it won't work on the Meteor hosting. I don't know about Galaxy. That's a different question, but I think that actually a lot of people are worried that there's going to be performance problems with uploading the image through the app. I think in practice it's not really a big deal, and it's sort of more outweighed by having the security of making sure that what people are uploading is really valid.
Okay, cool. Any other questions? Oh, over here?
Yep.
Are you using this on free platform, mobile and web?
I'm sorry, could you say that louder?
Are these available on mobile and web?
The question was, is it available on mobile and web? Yes. It uses actually a browser file input, so that actually works perfectly well on mobile. It works well on Cordova. It will let you on Cordova or a mobile browser. It will let you use the camera or choose from your images.
All right. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much, Paul.
Thanks.
All right, next up we have Jonas Helfer. He's a PhD student at MIT, and he's going to tell us about how 240 students took an exam with Meteor.
All right, hi everyone. My name is Jonas. So she just said I'm a grad student at MIT. Disclaimer though, the 240 students that I'm talking about, they weren't MIT students. So this summer, together with some other people, I volunteered at the International Biology Olympiad. Does anybody know why it's so small? Is it supposed to be that small?
You can make it larger if you want.
Okay. Can everybody see it kind of okay? I mean, I just plugged it in.
Command plus?
Command plus? No, I mean the size.
Did you do a temp check?
I didn't. Well, it's your computer, so I don't know. So anyway, I'll keep it. So it's this volunteer project I did for the International Biology Olympiad, and it's a biology competition for high school students. Thanks. And so there's 240 students from 60 different countries speaking 40 different languages. And over the course of 4 days, they took 2 theoretical exams and 4 practical exams. And so in the past, we always did this on paper. But this year, we wanted to do something different, and we wanted to do it on a tablet. And so we developed a Meteor app for that. And I'll just kind of try to demo to you what we did. But so you have an idea of what that looks like. This is just like a couple of those students. And here, this is one of the practicals where they are dissecting fish. And here, you can see the tablet on the right side. And so one of the big challenges we have at the internet, yeah, sorry about the picture, but I thought that's still G-rated, so it's still OK. So one of the challenges we have at the IBO is that we have to translate the exam into 40 different languages. So we have delegations coming, maybe 4 members, and they have about 48 hours to translate 6 exams into their own language. And they do that while the exam is being discussed and changes are made. So some translations that they made previously may no longer be valid. So what we did is we developed this sort of interface for them so they could translate questions here. They would just click here and then edit the question. They could type in, click save. And then at the same time, they would see what their teammates are doing. And they could also see when the original version changed. We had track changes and stuff like that. And so up here, they could, if they wanted to see what someone else was doing, they could choose a different language, and then that's supposed to load. Yeah, so now they could translate Chinese to Japanese if they wanted to. I don't think anybody did that, but yeah. For the students, it looked like this. So this is the Japanese version right now. And if the Japanese student was doing this and he wasn't sure what those people translated, he could switch to English up here. And so he could go up and switch to English. And then one of the really cool things was that we had the picture upload, and that's something you can't really do on paper. So sometimes the students would do an experiment and then, or some practical, and then they'd have to take a picture and upload that picture, and then indicate with the arrow something on the picture. And so that's something we did, which I think went really well. In terms of the command center view that we had, we implemented something where we could control the exam sessions. So we had different exam sessions. And we have this control view where we can set the duration of the exam, set it like that, and then we can open all the exam sessions. And then here you see the duration that's still remaining. You can close it or open it for individual students, and you can increase time if they had some problem or take time away, although we didn't do that. And this little round thing here indicates whether the tablet was online or not. And so we actually had a really good experience with Meteor. One of the really cool things was not just the reactivity, but actually the latency compensation. And for us, that was really important because the Wi-Fi connection was sometimes not good at all. And there's nothing more annoying than when you're taking an exam and you're trying to enter an answer and it just doesn't do anything. So with Meteor, with the latency compensation, we were able to just download different languages onto the student's tablet, and then they were able to do it. And then even if they didn't have a connection, they wouldn't even notice. In the end, it would upload. And so what we noticed is actually there's some really good packages out there now, and the community is really, really good. We did have a few small problems, though, and one of the problems is, I think something that other people have already noticed, is that for us, Blaze, it wasn't rendering very fast. So we had one exam with about 50 questions, and each of those questions is built with different blocks. And so we had about 400 elements in the Mongo collection. And we found out that it was actually mini Mongo that was slowing down the rendering, because each time it would go over all the 400 elements. And so what we did to fix that is we thought, well, either we can do some kind of caching, but we decided to basically add indexing to Minimongo. We have a package for that, but we didn't put it on Atmosphere. But if anybody is interested, you should talk to me afterwards. So what we saw is on the tablet, sometimes it wouldn't render at all, or it would take 15 seconds to render the really long exam. After we added indexing to Minimongo, it would render in 2 seconds. So it was really a really big difference. Yeah, so I think I'm pretty much out of time. But I'll just add this anyway. well, this is really small now, but here's the kind of thing how do I reload? Control Command R. So here's the kind of visualization that we were able to do with the kind of data that we gathered. And so here you see that's only, I think, 100 students, but you can see them as they go to different questions and answer them and put in, and you can see how many points they have and stuff like that. So that's really the sort of view. And we didn't do this live, but there's no reason with Meteor that you couldn't do this. So you could have sort of this command center view of things, which is really cool. Yeah. So yeah. So that's sorting by score. This is done with D3. We did this afterwards, so that's the disclaimer. Yeah.
Cool, thank you. Do we have any questions for Jonas? Over here.
What did you use for your theme for the test, like for the buttons and things?
For the buttons, you have to ask Shan. She did all the style stuff.
Oh, cool. Did you, I couldn't tell, did you use some kind of theme?
There's base CSS, and on top of that, I just done everything myself.
So the question was what kind of theme we use for the stylings and the buttons, and the answer is base CSS and then our custom stuff.
Any other questions? All right, thanks again, Jonas.
Thanks.
All right, next up we have Simon Fridlund. On Atmosphere, you may recognize him as Zime. He's gonna tell us about, he's a package maintainer at Hunsoft, and he's gonna show you one account, merging accounts a little bit differently.
Yeah. So, so during the development of Handsoft X, we ran into the problem with multiple accounts like Facebook, GitHub, and stuff like that. So, but we support like Google and GitHub, I think, right now. But the thing was, as everyone else, we started looking around for solutions where all of these should be like one account, so you don't have several accounts for each service. But the thing with the current solutions is like you could still get into the scenario where you had two accounts with the same email, and once you try and merge them, you had to take care of updating references to that user throughout your database. And what we did was to change it up. So once you log in with Facebook or GitHub or something, we add your email from that service to your list of emails. So in effect, it becomes a local account, like a password account. And the next time you log in with a related service account, we actually look through it and see if there's a local account with that email, and if it is, we just add that service on top of the other one. And with this approach, we actually pretty much circumvent the scenario where you got two accounts with data and you need to merge them and take care of like updating references to a user which doesn't exist anymore. So let's start here and go to somewhere, and then with Facebook, you don't get a verified email, not at this time, but when we sign up, it says verify your email because you can't log in otherwise. So if we just check, so we get like a verification email sent out by default because it wasn't verified. And then if we check, you can see it actually added the email to the emails list. So now it actually works like a local account, yeah. So you can go to the forget password and let's see. And you can actually reset your password and you would get that email sent out. And you could actually, let's see. You could actually choose something, and you would actually log in. You would be able to log in with that password, even though you actually didn't get to choose a password when you sign up with Facebook. if it works as expected. So that's like one of the upsides with this. You can actually, it doesn't matter if you sign up with a service or something, you can always reset your password and set a new password and log in with password and email. And if we log out now and then we try and log in with GitHub, it would actually just merge the GitHub on top of. So the same account just has Facebook, and we added GitHub on top of that. And it's still just one account. And we also automatically, if we hadn't used the verification email, so the email would still be unverified, it would actually automatically verify the email because GitHub gives us a verified email address as of Meteor 1.2. So as long as you give it the right permissions. So that's basically it. There's still some edge cases and some like improvements to be done, but once Meteor 1.2 hits for real, we're gonna package it up and actually release it. So it's probably gonna be a hands-off one account or something like that. So, and that's basically it. Yeah. Any questions?
Anyone have questions for Simon? Over here?
Have you ever written a case when there are multiple email addresses?
So the question was, have I...
How does the system handle multiple email addresses?
Yeah, okay, so how does the system handle multiple email addresses? And so say you have two accounts. You have your private account and you have your work account. And then your work account you connect with your GitHub account. And then you have two local accounts, one connected with GitHub, two different emails. And then you log into GitHub, you update your email to your private email. So GitHub's primary email is now your private email. But that GitHub account is still connected with your work account. And then when you try and log in again, we will actually try and add that email to your list of emails. So, but that will give you an error. So that's like the edge case. So you can't add that email to your currently connected GitHub account because that email is still like another local account. So that's like the edge case, and there's improvements. I know Luca has like account smell, so I'm gonna talk with him, see if some of his like ask pop-up thing is applicable to this or something.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, last but not least, we have Jack Lukic. He's the author of Semantic UI, and he's going to be giving a talk called Between You and I.
Could you help me out here for a sec? Sorry.
Sure.
Thanks. All right. Cool. Hey guys, I'm Jack. I'm the author of Semantic UI. Semantic UI is an open source UI framework. So if you're familiar with Bootstrap or Zurb Foundation, something like that, it's basically, instead of starting from scratch, you can start from useful neutral prototypes of the elements you need and then sort of refine from there. So my talk today is just to try to convince you guys. A lot of you are engineers and love working from nothing. I want to get you guys behind the idea of working from prototype and refining towards the aesthetic direction that you want. So to give you a little walkthrough of what code looks like in Semantic UI, it's sort of like a usage guide. If you're familiar with like an English usage guide, it says how you can use an expression. Design is sort of created or is sort of cataloged into individual components. We're looking at right now a segment, which is described as a grouping of related content. So you can see here different types of segments. The word type means that it's mutually exclusive. If you are a cat, you can't be a dog, and vice versa. This is all based on sort of principles from natural language. So here you have a segment, a raised segment, a stacked segment. And just sort of give a little bit of background, all of these types of UI, the way that I sort of work, which is also sort of how descriptive linguists work, is you look for first-hand sources. You sort of go through the Alexa Top 1000 and figure out what the current common usage of UI is, and then just sort of describe that. And so that's sort of what segment is here. You can see piled and so on, vertical segment. And so the other fundamental difference here is that it handles things like plurality really simply. So for example, you have horizontal segments here. That is a plural group of segments that have shared qualities. The code behind that looks like this. Horizontal segments, aha. So there's no disconnect between what you're looking at in code and what you're trying to work with. So yeah, and just to give you the whole definition here, variations are mutually inclusive ways you can modify an element. So for instance, an element can be both colored and it can also be emphasized. It can be both circular and attached. These are all things that can exist together. So why is this useful? I'll give you a good example here. Here's a fun group of nested segments. Imagine you have a Photoshop file that shows you that you should do this. So you pull out Flexbox, you start defining flex containers, but it gets complicated. You have different flex directions. You have to deal with stretching, this kind of stuff. So the way that Semantic UI works is it encapsulates all of that in language. So if you can describe what it should do, then you can make it. So for instance, this example here, you can sort of see it's a segment, a group of 3 segments, another segment group, 3 horizontal segments, and then finally a segment. So further complexities, this corner is rounded, these corners need to be straight, and so on. So to give you an example of how everything is UI, here's something you guys see all the time. This is GitHub. This is the repo homepage. This is an input. You're used to this blue border and so on. Different types of pop-ups. This is a menu. You might use your keyboard to select things. This looks like a really custom menu that has a very GitHub style. The hover effect is very unusual. But it turns out this page is not github.com. This is actually just Semantic UI code. And this is all using the same components that you just saw in the usage guide. So just to give you an example of how powerful that is, this is just literally moving the column to the before. So here's what GitHub would look like if the column was on the left. So this code here is a left tabular menu. It was previously a right tabular menu, and that varies where the border is on the active item, the shadows, where the labels are placed, and so on. And that's one class name. So you can open up your code base, change a single class name, and then sort of see whether that design fits with what you're trying to do. To give you more examples, here's a minimalist style where everything went to its basic style. Added in some distinct buttons. So let me just go back here. You can see there's a GitHub colors and so on. Yeah, so this sort of gives you an example. So the funny thing is, this is just the GitHub theme. I've loaded other themes to give you an idea of what if GitHub had Amazon buttons, or what if GitHub was designed with a neutral theme from Semantic UI. So here is the same exact code base with just swapping the theme file. So you might be familiar with this kind of labeled icon button. It's very unique to Amazon. There's a positive button, so this is the positive color for Amazon, and so on. So this is just, the idea is that once you create a vocabulary for your website, you can use that vocabulary to empower any of your developers to work under the same code base. So once you say for your site what a primary menu looks like and a secondary menu and so on, you can give your developers that toolkit and sort of just let them loose. So I'm just showing you some more different variations. This is a horizontal menu. This is literally just adding the word horizontal. And yeah, this is the default theme if you're curious what that looked like. The exact same code, default theme. Everything's a little bit bigger. Yeah, so if you guys have any questions, you want to talk about that after the talks, come up and talk to me. Thanks.
All right, do we have questions for Jack over here?
So I went to the URL. What's the button that you push to bring up the sidebar?
Whoa, what did I just do? Sorry, how do I get back over? Let me move the screen over. I'm a PC guy. I know.
What are you looking for? Oh, there you go.
Okay, thank you. So you're asking what is the button? I hid a little button over here that's a select a theme button. I was thinking about leaving this up the whole time during the talk and see if any of you guys realized it wasn't GitHub, but I thought that would be a little bit too naughty, so I didn't do But this is a sidebar. If you want to see what that looks like in the code, I'll show you really quick. Actually, what would be better is I do a live code inspector so you can sort of see. So here's a left sidebar, a pusher, which is the content that gets pushed, page header, page content. This is the repo ribbon. I called it that. And this is the other thing, too, is that aside from things having descriptive names, they also just have names themselves. So when you call things in JavaScript, you don't want to say, attach this to the button. You want to sort of give it a name. And this is sort of the same tactics for discrimination that natural language uses. So basically, the fundamental principle is that with natural languages, we have sort of a glimpse into like what programming languages could look like in 100,000 years plus. Specifically for one task of describing physicality, not for describing abstraction, which is a completely different task. And just to sort of outline what I mean by that, markup languages, I think, benefit from natural language techniques, whereas programmatic languages, which deal with sort of cooking recipes, have no place for that stuff.
More questions for Jack? Over here.
Just a comment. Great work. I think Semantic UI is fantastic.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I have like a stupid question. Why should I use Semantic UI instead of Bootstrap?
OK, so.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. Why should I use Semantic UI instead of Bootstrap? Semantic UI is built on around 4,000 theming variables, 6 levels of inheritance. So imagine you want to define a button, but you want to say that this is my brand button, and I have a microsite, and I want to port that theme. It supports that. Imagine you say, I want to use a GitHub button, but I want to use my color red. It supports that. So this is sort of, if you're familiar with Sublime Text, there's this idea of project default, package default, user default. It uses the same philosophy. And at each of those levels, it has globals and local component variables. So that's 6 levels altogether.
Question in the back.
Have you thought about an automated way to convert existing themes, like templates, into Semantic UI? That's one of the good parts about Bootstrap. You can just kind of
Yeah.
get a template.
So the good thing about Bootstrap is they started a few years earlier, and the community really needed it at the time. And so a lot of theming grew around that. And theming is a market, and a lot of people try to make money from that. Semantic UI is a little bit later, to the open source UI world, but we're growing the theming marketplace. One of the things that's fundamentally different is that I wish I had my code editor up here, but there's this. Actually, you know what? Fuck it. Okay, I'll just pull this up really quick. So here's the real repo. You can notice any differences. OK, so inside the source folder, you have this wonderful file called a theme config, which is literally just you name what theme you use for each thing. And the way this works is it can work with a package manager. It hasn't been written yet. But basically, you can download a theme like a node module, install it, and then just change which component you want for each element. And the thing that's really amazing about this is you can hot swap. So you can say, like, I want Amazon buttons, but I want material colors and a container size like GitHub. And all of those things are actual constraints, real-world constraints defined by the companies which invented their own UI brands. And obviously, you guys should use your own design skills and make your own themes. But this is just to sort of give you an idea that you can sort of do anything with this.
Question over here.
Yeah, so this funny thing about a usage guide is that you have to make assumptions about what's going to be around and what's common and what's on its way out. So there are expressions in English that still exist and are in the dictionary, but no one uses anymore. In the same way, like for me, the way that I spend my time, it's probably better to focus on the most commonly used UI expressions. It's funny too, though, that this stuff changes over time. Like a sidebar menu, like an off-canvas menu, didn't really exist 3 years ago. It's a new concept. It emerges from a giant community of developers. And then you sort of have to rapidly create standards around this. And this is very different than how the W3C works, which is they decide in a group of, committee of a dozen people what the web needs. So this is that this is kind of like, if you're familiar with Académie Française or Oxford English Dictionary, the difference between like prescriptivist and descriptivist. They prescribe standards which they think are correct for usage, whereas this is more grassroots.
Could you repeat the question?
Oh, sorry, I ramble sometimes.
That's right. It was, have you thought of adding a carousel?
Have I thought of adding a carousel? The answer is, I thought about it, but I did not add a carousel.
Question over here.
As a follow-up, do you think the carousel is on its way out?
Yes, it's on its way out. But there's certainly new things that are emerging that I really want to work on. But yeah.
Cool. Any more questions for Jack? All right, thank you. Oh,
I saw that you have about 20K stars, which is big. Who is the biggest, one of the biggest users supporting this, using this?
So this is a funny thing. I've been working off donations for last year. I don't have a normal job. I just do this. I'm kind of an ideologue. I just sort of chase. I had this idea and I've been chasing it. So in terms of contributions, I get around 8-9K in donations a year, which is amazing. It's a community of people who like what I'm doing and want me to keep working on it. Aside from that, there's startups that use it. I don't really want to name names. And yeah, so I'm trying to sort of fully articulate it and then figure out the best way to offer that to people.
Cool. Any last questions? All
Thanks,
right.
guys.
Thank you very much, Jack. All right, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. It's been wonderful hosting you here at Meteor HQ. Thank you also, everyone who's been watching us online on the live stream. Really value your attention. So if you're watching online, please subscribe to our YouTube channel to be notified of new videos and new Devshop Live events. We have this event by default the last Thursday of each month, so you can tune in. You can go to, we'll be updating devshop.meteor.com soon, and you can click the calendar button to save it to your calendar. You can rewatch the videos from tonight's live stream anytime, and we'll also be posting each video soon, or each talk soon as its own video. And we also upload talks from Devshop London, so definitely subscribe, keep an eye out for those as well. Our next Devshop is Thursday, September 24th. It's already up on meetup.com, so please visit our meetup.com page and meetup.com/meteor-sfbay, and you can RSVP there. For those of you who are here in person, you can help us clean up by throwing away trash and bringing your chair to the corner by the bathroom. We still have food and drinks. We'll be open for a little while longer. Please feel free to stick around, talk to people whose talks you liked or who you saw that you want to see talked with more. And yeah, hang out and have fun. Thank you very much. See you next time.